The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Father Corey Stika. Hi, Father Corey.
How's it going?
Very well, thank you. And Joanne Mercier. Hi, Joanne.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. There's no news today, so that's the show, folks. No, April Fools. Just kidding. It is April Fools as we're recording this, and I just wanted to take a few moments to talk about it. The tech industry is famous for its April Fool's jokes. It's all the websites and games and apps and all this stuff. They like to roll out April Fool's jokes. Although this year is a little different, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know. I might be in the minority, but I don't know if this is such a good thing that they're not doing the jokes like they've done in the past.
Some people think it's in bad taste because it's a very serious time. But frankly, I think we need more humor and more lightheartedness, not less, to get us through.
We've forgotten the old phrase, laughter is the best medicine.
Exactly.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, when you're stressing, the best thing you could do is put on a silly Mel Brooks movie and just laugh your tail end off.
Oh, yeah. Robin Hood, Men in Tights.
There you go.
Let me tell you a story from 2001. After 9/11, we had, you remember, we had weeks of just straight, serious, scary news, very sad. And then and that was all that was on TV. And when they finally started showing others, no, actually, I had a TiVo at the time. That's what it is. After a while, I just couldn't take it anymore. And I went and so, what do I get recorded on the TiVo? And I had old Simpsons episodes. I never laughed so hard at The Simpsons as I did then.
Wow.
And it just felt so good to laugh at something. So it is great to have a laugh.
I mean, I know there are articles talking about you shouldn't do pranks surrounding coronavirus, and I agree with that 100%. I think, frankly, you hear stories of people who've done stuff like that where they've, pretended to cough on someone and, I've got it.
Yeah.
Oh, they deserve to be not just locked in jail, they deserve to be buried under the jail for being stupid.
Agreed.
That's terrorizing people. That's not smart.
That is terrorizing people. But you know what? Like, I still chuckle about the when Google Fiber was first rolling out, where Google did the new toilet distribution method of Google Fiber, where you would basically flush the end of the fiber line and it would run down through the sewer lines to Google's network.
Jeez.
That's great. Well, that's the sad thing is Google sent out a notice to all its employees last week, I think it was, a memo saying, this year, no jokes. We're being serious. We'll be, we understand it shows our lighthearted culture and et cetera, et cetera. And we'll be back next year with more jokes. But this year, we're going to put the kibosh on it, which, it's like we were saying, whether that's a good idea or not. I mean, I think some people might have been offended, I suppose, but I think they would have been okay.
I think everyone right now, Dom, is just they're like, almost like two camps. Those who are really freaking out because they're not sure, and I think there are others who could probably use a good laugh.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those balance things, and I think anybody who wants the good laugh, I would go on Google and type in Corona parody or any kind of parody. You'll get a whole slew of them.
Yes.
Even some I can't mention on this program, but there's some which are really hysterical and make you laugh out loud.
There's some good ones. Yeah.
Facebook has been really good with that as well.
The best April Fool's jokes right now that are sort of Corona related that I've seen are the ones where the parents get the kids up early on April Fool's Day and told them that school is back. It's been announced at the last minute that school is back in session. Get them all dressed and get them with the backpacks to the door and then go, April Fools.
Yeah.
Oh, is that borderline mean? I don't know.
Because while the kids are a little sad, after they're told April Fools and are assured that, yes, there is no school, they're pretty happy afterwards. So I think that one's okay.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that's relatively harmless. I think there's a lot of good stuff. And like I said, I'm kind of one thing you put here in your in our show notes is about like Overwatch, but googly eyes on
all the characters.
On people. Yeah.
Yes. All the characters in the Overwatch roleplay, first person shooter game, they all have googly eyes, so they look ridiculous. So that's pretty funny. TweetDeck, which is the Twitter client, replaced the button where the GIF button, GIF, for animated GIFs, replaced it with respelled it with as GIF, JIF, which is I think
in other words, they spell it the way it's not supposed to be pronounced.
Yes,
GIF, not
yes,
GIF.
The GIF GIF controversy. And they took a side. So April Fool is fun. There may be an April Fool joke hanging around somewhere in SQPN. I'm not gonna spoil it, but if you're taking a look around SQPN, you might see something over there that would be fun that you can enjoy. Just go to sqpn.com and see if you can find something. Let's move on then. I don't want to spend too much time on that because I don't want to ruin it. I'll let you, the listeners to this go find it. Let's talk about. Well, I have to say we're a tech podcast. We're going to be talking about working from home and remote working for a while now. Mm-hmm. So this is probably going to be a regular thing we're going to talk about. And again, we're going to be talking about. We talked a lot last week about Zoom. We're talking about Zoom again, and there's a couple new things we need to really bring up. And one of the things is this Zoom bombing. It's called. This is where you're having a Zoom meeting or a class, or you're just getting together with friends or family, and a stranger or somebody pops up. They can take over the screen, share their screen, or just show stuff on their camera, or yelling things or whatever, and run. And they do it, not anonymously, but they do it without any warning. You don't know that they're there, and it's called Zoom bombing. It's juvenile. Right. It's dumb, but it's happening. And even the FBI's even started warning people about it, since so many people, millions of people, are using Zoom now. It's kind of Zoom's fault, isn't it? I mean, they have not done a good enough job in making their platform secure. So
I want to defend Zoom just a little bit, only because they've been now. I've known about Zoom for a while, and in fact, I had been on a couple of Zoom chats previously because I was looking for a job. So I was on Zoom interviews actually.
Yep.
And I think they were basically a business product that were used by educators, businessmen, that type of thing. And I don't think a lot of the yahoos that like to do that kind of stuff really bothered them. Well, now that they're mainstream, but Zoom probably didn't, turn around and say, okay, we should probably make sure you know all about every little single thing you could turn on, click, and do. Now they have to play catch up. There's
a couple of issues. Like there is some basic security that they didn't do, which is that they haven't really let people know until now that when you share a meeting link, that is a public link. Anyone can join the meeting if they have the link. So it really shouldn't be that easy. Other platforms don't do that, WebEx and others. And it's Zoom, I know they're trying to make it as easy as possible for people to join, but maybe we've aired a little too much on the easy. So just keep in mind that your public meeting links are public. You also have a personal meeting ID, which is like a phone number. Mm-hmm. You don't give that. That's like giving someone your phone number. They can just drop in on you anytime. You should set up a password on that so that people have to have the password and your meeting ID in order to connect with you, just to drop in. Like if someone has your personal meeting ID, someone can just drop in and show up on your Zoom.
Well, and the thing too is you can also set up. As I understand, I've not used Zoom. At least I've not set up a Zoom meeting. I've talked on Zoom, but I've not set up a Zoom meeting. That even if you show up in the meeting, you still have to be given. You can be set up so that you have to be given approval to actually enter the meeting.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like the organizer of the meeting can say, I don't know this person, you're gone. I know this person, you can come in, you can share, you can't,
There's a waiting room, basically, that you can set up. Yep. And that's not set up by default, which is one of the things. The tools are there. They're just not they're not enabled by default. Like there's one where anyone can share their screen. Anyone who's in the meeting can share whatever's on their screen, and including gross, disgusting, bad, horrible stuff, can share their screen to everybody, unless the host of the meeting goes into a setting and turns off screen sharing and requires them to be approved to be like so that they have to give that permission. The permission is automatically there, and that's people should know that. So you click on who can share, and you confirm that the host is the only one who's enabled, and then that way you have to enable people. So this is some things like that.
I must be a nerd then, because no, seriously. Well,
you
yeah,
are.
because I'm here.
Yeah.
But when I was learning it 2 weeks ago, really learning it, the first thing I did was go through every single setting and find out what can I do, what can I not do.
Yeah.
And I clicked off, share the screen. I clicked on waiting room. I even put on, noise when somebody comes into the waiting room so I can know somebody's there. So I guess that just must be me. I can understand people who just kind of it's almost like driving a car without a license,
Or without driver training, right?
Yeah, without driver training.
That's a good tip right there. And when you're going to be using a new platform or new software, new tool, go through all the preferences, look at everything, especially when it's something that's potentially a vector for a cybersecurity intrusion.
Well, and to be fair, I think for a lot of people, this hit so quickly. They went, there's a lot of companies out there that working from home before about a month ago was a rare and special privilege that only the elite 1% got. And this kind of hit all of a sudden now. No, everybody's working from home. How do we deal with this? Well, there's this tool called Zoom.
Right.
True. And I guess I have to, full disclosure, I've always worked at least a day or two from home with all of my church jobs. And the only good thing now is now they understand at church, you can actually really get work done at home and actually be productive.
We've talked about that a little bit so far, which is that how all of these people working from home, after all this is over, I think a lot more people will be able to work from home.
I don't know. I could see some major companies going, okay, you've had your vacation at home where you've done all your work, but you are still on vacation at home. Now get back here and do real work.
Right. There's that. I have a feeling there's also going to be a subsection of, wow, we really decided that these are unessential jobs. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And that I could see that possibly happening too. So it's not all going to be necessarily upside, but there'll be a little of that on all sides. Speaking of Zoom, there's also news that they have announced that they're removing some controversial code where they were sharing anonymized data with Facebook. So because that always works well to share data with Facebook. Yeah. Oh, we didn't know that. Yeah. So I feel like there are other, like Zoom is the big hot platform right now. Google Meet is probably a pretty good one to try out. WebEx, GoToMeeting, Skype.
That's the funny part is GoToMeeting has been around forever. They were like the first real online meeting software back when you still called into it and your person who was running the meeting was the only one online.
It's just not the cheapest, and that's probably a big difference there. Yeah. So, but there are other platforms that are perhaps proven to be a little more secure. Don't just automatically go to the one that's everyone's using the name of. It's making it a generic name for remote connecting. Find something that works better for you.
Hangouts is still there too.
Yeah, Hangouts is still hanging around. No pun intended. And in fact, it's been on the list for Google to cut it off at some point. I'm thinking that with this, they're going to hold off on a little while longer, which I'm glad to see because I like Hangouts.
The funny part is they basically took Hangouts and just rebadged it Meet. I mean, yes, I know they added features to it, but it's basically Google Hangouts with a few added toys.
Yeah. And I have to learn, look at Google Meet and see if that's a better tool for some of the things we do. We're using Skype right now. We've always used Skype for our shows, pretty much. And Microsoft has announced that they're seeing way more traffic, obviously, on Skype.
Yeah.
So, and we're experiencing some of the effects of that. Although I have to give them credit. It's been okay. Knock on wood.
Yeah, keep doing that, Dom.
But it's been okay in the interim. I've had a few issues, but in general, Skype has been better than it was 4 years ago. I mean, I remember when we were doing these things 4 years ago, Skype was completely unreliable, but it's become a lot more reliable these days. But they're seeing massive increases in traffic, as all these companies are. So, and then one thing I wanted to talk about was the implications for some companies, especially hardware companies and software companies, as they are dealing with working from home, their entire workforce. And one of the stories about Apple, that Apple, being famously secretive, doesn't let people take stuff home. And they're having to figure out how to deal with this, how to let people take stuff home and still maintain their secrecy.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
I never thought of that when I read that article. I was like, oh, that's true.
Yep.
How can you do that? And then your whole family sees it, and somebody goes, "Oh, what's this? Oh, nothing." Shoving it away in a closet.
That'd be awesome. Dad's an Apple hardware engineer. Hey, Dad, what's over in your office? Nothing. Nothing's in my office. Go away.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here.
I could see like Apple security shows up and does like evaluations of the security of your office. Do you have, locks on the inside of your doors so your family can't come in? Do you, deadbolts? Do you have,
Yeah, you don't just have to be in COVID-19 quarantine. You have to be in Apple quarantine. Like, it's not because you have the disease, but because you have our hardware. You can't show it to anybody. You have to be in quarantine in your house.
You have to take a spare bedroom, cut a hole in the door so your family can pass you food once in a while.
And for those of you old enough, and you must have installed a cone of silence.
The cone of silence. That's right. But the serious thing is like there's issues like, if like software developers, they can work at home. They get the computers, they can do that. But things like prototyping machines, milling machines, 3D high-end 3D printers, testing equipment. They have these massive testing labs. The audio testing labs at Apple are incredible, like these huge anechoic chambers and just these incredible facilities they have that they just don't have access to at home. And then the funny thing is because they're so locked down, they haven't traditionally let people use third-party services like Box or Slack or WebEx. Yeah. And so they're trying to use FaceTime and iMessage for business use, and they're running into the same thing we run into, which is they're not designed for business use.
Right.
Guess what? They will be in another year or so. I'll bet you any money.
I bet that's coming. They're all learning the pain of that, and I can see that coming. One thing that I heard they're doing is that because they often have to send someone to China to check out the hardware on the production line. Well, they can't do that obviously right now because of this, and so they're doing a lot of that work by photo and video and that sort of stuff. So
and I wonder how that's going to affect them long term if they're going to reevaluate, and as many companies I think might with these kind of issues reevaluate overseas. Whether it's China or Vietnam or any place you can imagine,
right?
Doing a lot of this work overseas that could be done here at the home country, United States, Canada, Europe, wherever.
Do you remember famously how Foxconn, that's the company that builds Apple hardware in China, Foxconn announced that they were going to build a plant in Wisconsin, a $1 billion plant, which really hasn't gone anywhere. There's been some reporting on that really they promised, but not much has happened with that. My guess is after all this is over, there's going to be a big push to say, hey, by the way, remember that factory you promised? Let's get going on that. And we'll see a lot more of that.
Well, and maybe companies that had previously done their own fabrication of one sort or another might start in-housing it again, just because they'd have that control that if something like this happens again in the future, there's not the concern that there are right now. Because I know, one article you point to is that the 2020 iPhones won't be affected, but 2021 edition and so on.
Right.
There's real issues because, like you said, they can't get into these prototyping labs. They can't get into these testing labs where they've probably already prototyped the next year's versions of the phone, but they can't play with them. They can't test them.
They can't work on them. They can't improve the designs. They can't do all that work that has to be done. I mean, the 2020 phone is probably mostly set. I mean, there's probably a lot of, detail work that they're still doing in software, but the hardware, that stuff is like, and the design, like the exterior design and all that, that's usually set pretty far in advance so they can know how much they got to jam in there. But although I have to say, maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if we got off this, we got to get a new phone every year train a little bit from a consumerism, spiritual detachment from a material goods point of view, maybe we'd be better off slowing down on some of that stuff.
But I also think too, and I think a real slowing down I'd like to see is it may be nice to have an outlet in another country or a manufacturing arm in another country, but when all of your manufacturing arm is in another country,
Yeah.
this is now showing us that is really not a good idea.
Right.
That we should have the
Exactly.
main body of it in your own country, and then if you want to have, auxiliary ones in other places, we got to. A global economy is fine, but you got to take care of home first.
Well, wherever your
You know?
biggest market is, that's you've really got to
Mhm.
be serving that. Now there are reasons why they do China, because a lot of the components are made over there. They're made cheaper over there.
A lot cheaper,
Our
yeah.
phones are already $1,200 bucks
Yeah,
in
true.
some cases. You can imagine how much they would be if they were manufactured at under American regulation. But it's something to consider. It's that maybe we need to reconsider. Do we need phones that would cost that much? And maybe we need to reevaluate how we do this.
Well,
sort of
and
thing.
I know Wall Street and the investors would disagree, but it would be a bad thing if we went 1 year and all these companies, Apple and Google and LG and all these companies said, yeah, we really don't have that new products. We're going to refresh our products.
Yeah.
But it's like you're not going to get, the iPhone 2021 next year. You're just going to get the 2020.5.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's fine. And I think it'll depend on how long this all lasts. If it lasts a while, then I think it's going to make people think differently.
Part of the problem, what drives this is, well, there's two things. It's like you mentioned, Father Corey, the stock market. They don't care about long-term health. They care about the next quarter and what are the quarterly profits. And if the quarterly profits aren't going up, a record every quarter, the company is doomed. Sell all the stock. The company's going to tank. And the tech journalist industry helps feed that by doing the same thing. Oh, this new iPhone, there's nothing new here. It's not interesting. It doesn't have any new whiz-bang features. It's a failure. No one should buy any more iPhones. It drives me crazy.
Well, that's Android's really bad for that. I love my Android phone and everything, but you watch like All About Android on Twit Network. Every single host on that show, they're regular hosts. I think the longest they have ever had a phone since they've been on that show is a month. Because they'll have a phone. Oh, the new Pixel 4 is wonderful. It's a great phone. Oh, but now here's the new Samsung Galaxy S20. It's a wonderful phone. It's even better than the one before. Oh, now here's LG's version. Here's HTC's. It's like, pick a phone and use it. I understand testing phones, but
this was one of the things when we started this podcast, we talked about that. What makes this podcast different from those sorts of podcasts is we're not tech journalists. We're not in the industry. We're not pundits. We don't have access to every new whiz-bang gadget out there. We're like you, the person listening to this. We have limited budgets. We're trying to make do with what we've got. We try to make our phone last longer. I mean, I probably replace my phone more than most people, but I think I'm like a lot of people. But I certainly don't get a new phone every month or every year even. So there's a value to, hey, this person can review new stuff. That's good. But I think it can distort the viewpoint of the people who are talking about the industry. Right. And so you got to have multiple
and
viewpoints.
To be fair, we have been already seeing where the average time now, as I recall, the average time of a person owning a cell phone is 3 years now. Yeah. That's what I did. I had my original Pixel, Google Pixel, for 3 years, and now I've got the Pixel 4 XL, and I'll probably get 3 years off this phone.
Right.
And I bought an 8 Plus 2 years ago and just got an 11 now. So I go about 2 to 3 years myself. But my computer, my main workhorse, 5.5 years old.
Same here.
Right.
My iPads are 2.5 and 1.
Yeah. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see how all this that we're talking about, where these phones, these new phones, could be delayed, if not just outright not released next year. How's it going to play into that? And I think it's going to be a shock for companies if, again, Apple comes out and says, well, we aren't going to have a big iPhone event in 2021 because we really don't have any big iPhones to promote this year. And everybody's go, well, that's disappointing, but good, because I can't afford to buy one right now.
right, because the economy's going to be in the dumper.
I think more people will appreciate that because Apple makes a good, and good product that does last.
Oh yeah.
We just never get a chance to see that because everybody wants the latest and greatest. But
Right.
the
Yeah.
product lasts.
The products do last. Yeah. All right. So we'll see how that all turns out, and I'm sure we'll be talking more about Zoom and about how the shutdown is affecting companies, and so we'll keep covering that. But there is actual non-virus related news as well. Yay! I want to talk about some news that Microsoft's come out with. So you may be an Office 365 user. I am.
Yep.
I have Office 365 family plan that I get. It's got Word, Excel, PowerPoint, which I never use, and and some other stuff that I also don't use. But it gives you access to Live and the OneDrive and that sort of stuff. Well, they're rebranding it from Office 365 to Microsoft 365, which is, I think, kind of a big deal because the Office name has been around a long time.
Oh, it has. I mean, I remember using like Office version 2 or version 3, I think it was back in 94, 95, and that was like one of the first versions of where they took Word, Excel, and PowerPoint and packaged them into one thing, and it was very loosely packaged. It was basically just got these three tools in one pack. So yeah, I mean, the Office name has been around for 25 plus years.
And the great thing is there's no change in price. The price is staying the same. It's just going to change name. So it's going to be, if you get the personal, it's $7 a month per person, or it's $10 a month for up to 6 people, which is great for a family. I like that it acknowledged that you could maybe have 6 people in a family. Or you could also do $70 or $100 a year, so you get a couple free months that way. But you get Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Publisher, which I don't think was in there before. Maybe
not.
It is, but
it wasn't.
But that was in the professional, because my version of Office 365 now, Microsoft 365, is one of the professional ones, the ones for business, small business, and it had Publisher.
And lots of parishes do use Publisher to do their bulletins, which is not great, but you use what you got. When I designed a parish bulletin, I used Adobe InDesign, but I had to learn it, and it was a learning curve to get there. But but having Publisher included is great. Microsoft Access, which is a database, which is pretty good. There are a lot of Access databases. Skype, of course, which is free anyway. But Microsoft Teams, which is so it's kind of like Slack. It's a team communication product, which families could use, like Slack. Slack's free, so but if it's included, it's included. And you get it to use it on Windows, Mac, iOS, Android. That's all included. You get a terabyte of OneDrive online storage per user, so that's 6 terabytes for a family of 6. So that's pretty good. And then they have a new thing called Microsoft Editor, which is they say it's spell check on steroids. So it's a grammar checker, style checker, uses machine learning and AI. So I'm just hoping it doesn't pop up with a little paperclip that says, "Hey, Skippy, I think you're using too many commas."
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
The dog again.
You're using the word "like" too much.
Yeah, yes. And then it's going to be not it used to be just in Word, but now it's going to be across the suite, so it'll be usable in Excel and Outlook and that sort of stuff. And even on the web, I guess you can use it as a browser extension, which is interesting. And then in Excel, you'll get access to a money feature, which is like Microsoft Money. So it's a form of Microsoft Money that lets you do budgeting and finance tracking in Excel. And I think that's most of what's in that. And then there's a couple new products coming later this year in addition, called Microsoft Family Safety. So which is it's kind of like the way it looks like, it's kind of like Apple's Screen Time for iOS. So parents can control the amount of time their kids use the devices and that sort of stuff. So it's very similar. So what do you think? I mean, is this is it a worthwhile upgrade, even though you're not really paying more for it?
Well, the first thing I want to mention is that the fact that they're changing it from Office to Microsoft 365, I think it's basically saying what a lot of people, my opinion is as well, is that Microsoft is trying to get away from, we're the Windows provider.
Yeah.
Windows is just the tool. Windows is just the
It's the foundation.
They basically got to the point now of, Windows is free.
Yeah.
Basic Microsoft Windows 10 is free. There are still ways to get it for free today. Legal ways, I mean. So they want people to be running Windows. Just use Windows. They're done what Apple did a few years ago with Mac OS, where upgrades were finally free.
Yes.
It's the same kind of thing. We want you to use Windows. You build a new computer, just put Windows on it. But then we charge you for Office and the other tools that they sell. That's really kind of been their approach the last, let's say, 5 years or so.
Yeah.
Has been getting away from, we want Windows to dominate the world, to we want people using our tools. Skype, Office,
right.
all the other stuff that they have.
And making money off of hardware like Surface tablets and that sort of stuff, and Surface computers, which is a shift for them as well. That's a good point. I think that's you're probably on target with that.
Yeah, mine just renewed today, so I have yet to go and see if I can actually get Publisher and Access on the Mac side.
Yeah,
because I wasn't able to do that before. Only on the Windows side of my computer could I get those two with the subscription.
I haven't looked, but I don't see Microsoft has not released Publisher for Mac, Access or Publisher for Mac.
It says April 21st, so we're probably a few weeks out from that.
Have they announced so that Publisher is going to be available for Mac?
Yeah, I think that's what they're saying. Is the full Office suite for all 4 platforms. That's at least according to this.
It would be great for me because of working for the church and knowing that they use those two.
Yeah, same here, because I was just looking that I have to move my Bulletin back to Publisher because I've got to give it to. I let someone else do it eventually.
Sorry.
And
I just checked. Publisher and Access are still Windows only.
Okay, that's what I figured. Yeah, because that was kind of always a big issue. Is you could get Word, Excel, PowerPoint. You could get some of the other tools, Outlook for Mac, but Publisher was not available, and that was part of the reason why I moved off of Publisher to Scribus, which is a open source desktop tool, which is clunky. It works, but it's clunky.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to be turning the Bulletin over to someone else, I want them to use Publisher. So I was hoping that was true, because then I wouldn't have to use my remote desktop or anything like that to get Publisher working.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it looks like it's the same. It's the same. So
it's a shame because if I don't use PowerPoint because Keynote is way better.
Yeah.
But Publisher still is something that, at least in my work, is used heavily. I was using InDesign as well in my last position, but this one they wouldn't know what to do with InDesign. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll go back to Publisher. But then I always have to go on my Windows side.
Right.
To use it. So when I saw that, I went, oh, you mean really? Finally? Not so much. But Microsoft 365, we had it in the Archdiocese when I was there, and my whole collaborative was connected to it. So I'm somewhat familiar with all of these other things they're putting in. It's basically, I guess, maybe they just want to say we have one product that can be used everywhere. And I think instead of having one for home, one for business, now you can use it everywhere.
No, they're still differentiating. There's still a home, a personal, and business versions, but it's sort of all in what they've included and what they haven't included. I mean,
and we should be clear is that Office 365 has been available for personal use, for home use for quite a while.
Oh yeah, for a long time.
The big part is more, I would argue, is the name to Microsoft 365 versus Office.
I think that's really the big thing. Yeah.
And maybe with this focus now, especially since they are trying to kind of distance themselves from being the Windows producer that creates Office instead of being the Office provider that runs on Windows, that maybe they will bring out a Publisher Access version sometime in the next couple of years for Mac. Maybe they'll decide, okay, we're supporting Mac, so we're going to support Mac too, because we make our money off of Office.
Really? I mean, I expect that over time, like you said, Father Corey, we'll see more things coming. Like on April 21st, there's not a whole lot that's going to be new. So it's a new name basically, and we'll just see more things coming over time that will be included. And I think that's really what we should take away from it. Like they said, the Teams product for families, for Teams for consumers, they say, but Teams for families really is what it is about. That's going to be later this year, part of the suite. And the family safety. One of the things I think is interesting about family safety is, so it's not a Mac product. It's a Windows, Android, and Xbox product, which is very interesting. So parents can control the amount of time or that their kids, or a wife can control the amount of time her husband is on the Xbox.
Wah, wah, wah.
Well,
or vice versa.
Some of us, I think my wife would like to control the amount of time I spend in certain apps playing World of Tanks or something with the kids. But seriously, I think it's a really interesting idea that they're giving this ability for parents and kids to have conversations and to talk about it. Like we use screen time. And very often I'll have one of the children come to me, can I have more time so I can continue listening to my audiobook? Sure. How long have you been using it? How much more time? I'll give you another half hour, then you need to do something else. You know what I mean? It's about conversations. It's about being aware. And that's just another tool to allow parents to do that. And I think it's a great tool that they're giving.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there is another bit of the coronavirus-related tech news, and this is a story about how governments are using cell phone location data to manage the coronavirus. So according to The Verge and some other articles I read in some other places, governments around the world are increasingly using location data to manage whether people are staying isolated, who you've been in contact with, if it turns out you are symptomatic, if you've got the disease. I saw one which was someone did a simulation based on available data, that showed all of these cell phones were on this one beach in Florida during spring break. And this is where all those cell phones are now, and it's basically like all over the world.
Oh,
yeah. Yep. Which there's two things to take away from that. One, the amount of people that you can infect is a lot more than you think. But two, your phone gives away a lot more information about you than you think it does.
Well, let's start with just a basic. The second your phone attaches to a cell tower, they know within about a 10-mile radius where you are.
Yeah. That triangulates off where you are.
Just the basic of this tower receives people from this area.
Right. You're in this area.
This has nothing to do with your phone. This is just the fact of they know where these cell towers are, and they know exactly which tower your phone is on. I mean, so that's just it's not even triangulation. It's just a fact of you're within the radius of this tower.
Right. Now, if you're connected to more than one or two towers,
then they can get you much more exact. And that's without having GPS on your phone. That's with a basic flip phone.
That's just radio waves.
That's just general, radio triangulation. And then you add the layer of all these phones are basically GPS locators.
Now, most countries, including the EU's, their new privacy laws, they're supposed to lock down this data. It restricts how they can use it. They have to anonymize it. But it doesn't mean that during national emergencies or international emergencies like this, they can't turn that off and say, okay, we need this data. It's just something to be aware of. There's not much you can do about it unless you don't want to use a phone.
Right. Well, I think it's interesting because before we started, I was listening to our governor's daily report. And for the last couple of days, she's asked us to keep a track of, if we have gone out, who we've been in contact with. So in case anything happens, they can trace it back. But she also said in the middle of the conference that they were working on something technologically that would help them to do just that. And she'd have something to tell us in the next week. So I'm wondering if they're thinking of an app or something that they want us to download, or if they're going to, I'm not quite sure. But I think what you're saying and what she's saying, I think they're going to start tracking us just to make sure, just to find out who we've been with so they can tell people. Yeah. This person came up with the virus. Now all these other people need to know this.
Right.
And then later on, turn it off because we don't want you to know anything else.
Yeah. Well, that's the trick is making sure they turn it off later when there's no need for it.
It's the two-edged sword. It's one thing to say, well, you were at the grocery store on X date and this guy came in, 5 minutes before you and has been found to be a carrier. That's one thing. It's the other thing of, no, really, we told you shelter in place, so why are you going out?
Or there was a crime committed in this place and your phone was found, it was seen within, 100 meters of that place, and within 10 minutes of that crime, you're now a suspect, or
Yep.
or other things like that. It's like I mean that there are ways that
you can get to some very tinfoil hat territory real quick, but
Yeah,
with good
slippery
reason.
slopes.
yeah.
Well, but slippery slopes aren't a fallacy if it's actually what happens.
right. Yeah, Kimmel's nose is on the slippery slope. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So, and then our last headline for today is this story. Apple has, we got a lot of Apple news today, but Apple has acquired the company that makes the weather app Dark Sky. And Dark Sky is an app that was available for both iOS and Android. I've always enjoyed it. But it's also under the data. They also sold the access to the data to other weather apps, which have been using it as well. And they've also had a very popular API, or application programming interface, that regular folks like me could use to use. Well, they announced that Apple has acquired them. They're shutting down the Dark Sky Android and Wear OS apps in July, so those won't work anymore. The iOS app is going to work for the time being, and then the API is going to work until the end of 2021, so about a year and 3 quarters.
Boo on Apple on that.
Yeah, I'm not happy with that. I've had Dark Sky for years.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, to be fair, Dark Sky is going to continue to work for the foreseeable future. No pun intended for a weather predicting app. But they haven't said that they're going to shut down the Dark Sky iOS app. That's going to continue working. But for me, I've used the API to do some really cool things on my computer. I use it to do things like I use it to get information so I can set up in shortcuts on iOS. I can find out when golden hour is on any particular day. Golden hour is a particular time at sunrise and sunset where the light is best from a photographer's point of view, so you can get best photographers. I use it to do things like get the temperature outside. So I have the hue, temperature, and motion sensor for my lights. So one thing you can do is say, okay, the office I'm sitting in is such and such temperature. The exterior temperature is such and such. That means, and if it's between these areas, it tells me, hey, it's pretty cold. Do you want to turn the heater on for a while? Or in the summer, it will say, hey, it's getting warm. You want to turn the AC on for a while? That sort of thing. So I'm going to lose access to that, which is annoying.
Yeah, and that's not fair. I don't understand why Apple will do that to these companies when they buy them. I know that they want to be very wall garden and all that kind of stuff. But still, I mean, this is a really good app that does a lot of really good things. And a lot of people have bought it. I mean, this wasn't a free app. We all bought it.
Well, the fact is Apple wants, it's clear what they want is they want the Dark Sky data. That's all they want. That's all they care about.
I think
or do they want the people?
They want, there's several, Apple often acqui-hires, which is they acquire a company in order to get the engineers and the brains, the people. And there's a lot of machine learning that's in Dark Sky, which does that, the ability to tell you like very micro forecasts, like it's going to be raining where you are in 15 minutes, like outside your house. And it's usually pretty good. And there's some AI in that. So that might be part of it, but also it might be that they want to improve the built-in weather app.
Oh, that's clear. I mean, that's kind of what that's clearly what it is. Is they realize, they don't like, Apple doesn't like being reliant on anybody for anything.
Right. And
it's
right
all
now
Apple
they use Yahoo
all the time.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that, they don't grow their own food in the middle of that ring. Maybe they do in the middle of it.
Actually, I think they do.
Yeah.
I think they do.
It's that kind of thing. So they want the data, like you said, they want the AI, they want the, maybe even the interface. I can see them in a year or so saying, well, the Dark Sky app for iOS is going away, but here's the new weather app that does exactly the same thing and looks really, really similar.
Yes.
My boo hiss is more because this is a cross-platform app with cross-platform data that can be used anywhere by anybody. You pay for it, but you can use it. And now they're shutting that tap off.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely
really
zero reason except Apple is being selfish Apple, because they could keep 3 Android developers around. It's not going to poison Apple headquarters.
Well, it's the API. They want to shut the API down, and I've seen some people say, well, what they want is when they bring these people in, they want them very narrowly focused on the project and not focused on these ancillary things like keeping the APIs running and all that other stuff. That's why sometimes when they buy these apps, they just shut them down completely. I mean, at least they're not getting rid of the Dark Sky app completely, but I agree. It's really annoying that it can't take that many resources to keep the API open. I mean, they're keeping it open through the end of 2021. So if you're going to keep it open that long,
well, they're going to keep it open until they can develop whatever they want to do, which will probably end up being there'll be something like the API, but it will only work on Macs.
Well, it'll be an internal API, my guess.
Yeah.
Or you'll be able to access it maybe through shortcuts, maybe. Yeah. That would be nice, but you're right. That only works on iOS and maybe Mac.
And let's. I mean, the thing is too, Dark Sky, they do have their own weather data as well. They do have their own models and everything, and that's the kind of stuff they want.
Right.
They don't want to have to go to weather.com for their weather data.
Yeah, and Apple is going to probably hire like some meteorologists and have an in-house. Just like they did with maps, just like they did with some other things, like even with they hired filmmakers because they wanted their in-house people to talk to them about how to make films.
Prediction. Within a year, there will be Apple Weather Channel on Apple TV.
Now, interesting. So Apple Weatherman on screen or weather person on screen.
Okay.
Interesting.
So figure the Weather Channel, but by Apple.
Interesting.
Think of that.
They'll probably get rid of the Dark Sky name because that's a little too negative, but they'll be like Apple Sky or something like that. Apple Sky Weather.
Exactly. Apple Skies on Apple TV.
Yeah, there'll be something like that. That's good.
I think I'll be going to Carrot Weather next, probably.
Well, Carrot Weather, it actually allows you to use different sources, and one of the sources is Dark Sky, but they also have access to other sources, which is good. And there are other weather data sources out there, and so those will still exist, which is good. We do have a bit of listener feedback this week, and I want to read this email. It's from Nate Vanderklok, who was in reference to our Zoom discussion last week and how just regular folks can get together on Zoom and have some social interaction that way. Nate says, my wife, daughter, and I have been involved in a weekly D&D campaign for about a year now, and as we live about 40 miles from the other participants, we connect with them using Google Hangouts and an RPG web service called Roll20. It works pretty well, and Roll20 lets the Dungeon Master share maps and use token images to map out combat. Pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I like the idea of being able to maintain these relationships and these games.
I've actually been doing that for a couple of years now with some priest friends who are down in Florida.
Oh,
and,
okay.
That's been a great thing to be able to do, is be able to play remotely like that. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah. In fact, the other day on Let's Talk Live, I was doing with Lindsay Sant he's from Australia.
Oh, yes.
Was telling me about that he uses an app. They do a board games, like tabletop board games or tabletop games. He does like X-Wing miniatures. And the folks he does it with, it's I think it's called Tabletop Miniature. I'll have to look. I'm doing this off the top of my head, but there's an app in Steam for if you have the Steam game system that allows you to do that also, where it allows you to roll dice and set up cards or whatever the mechanics of the game are.
Right.
So pretty cool. Thanks, Nate. That's a great information. All right, let's move to our picks of the week. Joanne, I'll let you go first.
Well, I was going to pick Zoom, but I think we've zoomed, we're on Zoom overload right now, so everybody knows where to find it. But the other thing that's been happening in my realm is a lot of churches, since the church building is closed, have had to resort to live streaming. And believe me, thank you, Father Corey, for using the landscape, position on your phone.
Well, actually, I'm using my MacBook Pro because of a YouTube idiocy that they added about a year or so ago, where you have to have 1,000 subscribers to use phone.
Oh,
you're streaming with the phone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I've seen so many of them in portrait mode that I give the guys credit, but man, turn the phone. Anyway,
Yep.
but I've been looking for software because we all now have to do, next week, we have to do Holy Week. And so we're all trying to figure out how to do that with the limits of people that can be in a room. And a friend of mine had talked to me about Streamlabs OBS, which allows you to do, it allows you to put other things on your screen rather than just the picture. The thing I was looking for was the actual words and sometimes music for the things, for the parts of the Mass and the ritual that we have. But just yesterday, they came out with it for Mac. The beta is out. Now, I know betas are a little icky, but I've downloaded the beta, started to play with it. It's easier than the other there's another free one out called OBS.
Mhm.
Right.
But this one is looks a little bit easier to manipulate. So it's kind of here's a pick, and I'll get back to you with whether or not it really worked next week. But I think a lot of people are going to be looking for that right now, especially in the church world, because they want to be able to bring the Mass to people in their houses during this time, especially during Holy Week. It's so important that we connect with our parishioners and our church family. So that's my suggestion. Streamlabs OBS for Windows or Mac. You can now have a choice.
So
Very
OBS is an open broadcast system, and it's an open source and free software that's been out for a while. And it looks like Streamlabs OBS is a fork of that, like a version of that that's a little more polished and made a little easier to use for most people. So it looks really nice. And it's free to use.
Yes.
They have
free is good.
Yes, they have a Prime product, which is for professional content creators. They say so. It's got some extras, and lets you set up an app store and custom websites, stuff like that.
But this one will let you do like a chat, which I don't know if people want to chat during Mass.
Probably not.
But I think it's mostly for the graphic feature where you're able to overlay, what's going on, and I think that's important for folks.
Overlay, be able to have like a please wait, screen, like when you start the stream before Mass starts, you don't have to show an empty sanctuary. You can just have a please, Mass will start in minutes or whatever.
And you can put up the congregate. I know a friend of mine, when he showed it to me, he did both the first and second readings and the gospel and the creed and the responsorial psalm. He had all that up there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious whether it allows you to stream to two different like Facebook and YouTube at the same time.
Right.
I'll find out. He's YouTube. He's definitely on YouTube, and we have a YouTube page as well as a Facebook one.
Yeah.
I think it's either or. I don't think it's simultaneously.
Yeah, the software that we use at SQPN is called Ecamm, which is Mac software, Ecamm Live, and it allows you to stream to a third party. I think it's called Restream. It might be. There's a couple that do it, and they can stream to multiple at a time, but there are some limitations, so that's why I haven't done it yet. But it's interesting. That Ecamm costs money. This is free, so this is a nice solution.
And I want to throw a pitch in, by the way, talking about YouTube. It's for priests. Try using YouTube Live if you can, because Facebook, the way it likes to hide things off the timeline, people might not be seeing your live streams.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
I've had events where people 2-3 days later they go, oh, now, like I'll create an event in Facebook with the link to the YouTube live stream. And 2 or 3 days later, people will see my Mass. Like, it's Tuesday and I'm seeing the one from last Saturday. This makes no sense.
It's really annoying. It's really annoying. Yeah. We run into the same thing. Father Corey, how about you? What do you have for a pick this week?
So one thing with this whole shutdown of everything in the world is people who want to work out, they're not able to get to their gyms because their gyms might be shut down. Mm-hmm. And so Peloton, of course, everybody knows Peloton for the bikes with the big, tablet TV screen in front of them and everything.
Suburban mom shaming bikes? Yes.
What's that?
The bikes that shame suburban moms into losing weight?
Yeah, exactly. Well, a lot of what you get on those bikes is, of course, you get your tracking of your heart rate and your pace and all that stuff. But the videos, a lot of them aren't live. They're pre-recorded that you can go and watch and do exercises later. Mm-hmm. And so they've also brought out an app that you can use any equipment or no equipment at all. Like you could do a jog in place or, there's stretching, there's stuff like that. All kinds of different exercises. Well, you can get the app for free for 90 days. With all the gyms shutting down, they've extended the free time trial for their app for 90 days, for 3 months. And so you can get the app if you have an exercise bike, you have a treadmill at home, stair stepper, all those kind of things. Or if you're like me and you like to go work out outside when it's not snowing and blizzardy and cold like it is today here, they do have things where you could put it, basically use it like a podcast where you're listening to it as you're running, you're walking, whatever. So this is a good way to do it. And the nice thing is, again, if you've heard me on this show, like I said today, I'm Mr. Cross-Platform. I like being able to get it on whatever you want. They have it on iPhone, iPad, Android phone, Android tablet, Amazon Fire TV, Amazon Fire tablet, and of course the web. And you can take your iPhone or your Android phone and you can Chromecast it or Apple AirPlay it to your big screen as you're sitting in your living room working out. So basically you can use it on everything.
Interesting.
And it's actually a really good work. I mean, there's a reason why these devices have really taken off. They are very good workouts. You will work up a sweat, even on the beginner level. Good. So, yeah, it's excellent stuff. And for 90 days, and if you do it right, here's a hint: if you register through the app, not through the website, you can skip the entering your credit card information.
Oh, so that you don't have to worry about the auto charge at the end of the 90 days.
Exactly.
Oh, nice. That's great. I'd heard that this was available, but I thought it was like, well, what good is it without a bike? But apparently you don't need their equipment.
I was going to bring up the app here. I'll bring it up right now because there are a ton of exercises available. It's just incredible the amount of stuff that you can do them. Looking here, I see running, outdoor, strength, cycling, yoga, meditation, stretching, boot camp, walking, cardio. A lot of these things are things you can do sitting in your living room. The stretch stuff, strength and stretching and walking and stuff like that you could do in your room, in your house.
Yeah. Cool.
I just downloaded it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. The reason why I found it is because as soon as the gym closed that I had signed up for it, because it was still, the roads were still kind of nasty. It's like, okay, so what am I going to do? How am I going to keep, some exercise going until I can get outside? Well, this is it.
And exercise is a good de-stressor, folks. Like if you've been feeling cooped up, it's a great
extremely
de-stressor.
So.
Yep, that and prayer. So a little of both. Yep. My pick this week is it's related to something I picked a long time ago in episode 16, but I'm picking is something related to it called the Tile Sticker. So I've picked the Tile devices before. Tile is a tracking device. You connect it to your keys. You put it in your wallet. Whatever. And when you can't find it, you open the app on your phone and you say, find my thing, and it'll beep. And if it's nearby, if it's not nearby, it uses the Tile community of users. So your phone is constantly noticing Tile devices around and letting them know that, hey, there was a Tile device here. This is what it was. So if you drop your keys at the mall, and someone with a Tile app on their phone walks by it, it'll let them know, hey, this Tile device was here, which is great. But the Tile devices have generally been either stuff that fit on a keychain, so they have a loop, or they're very thin and they slide into like a pocket or something. Well, the Tile Sticker is a small, round, I'd say maybe the size of a nickel, rubberized, waterproof little tracker with a very strong adhesive in it. It sticks to virtually anything. And it has a 150-foot range and a built-in 3-year battery. And so what I've done is several of our kids have Kindles now, and I am constantly having a child come up to me and say, Daddy, where's my Kindle? Daddy, can you find my Kindle? And I'll just open up the app on my phone, hit the button, and it will ring somewhere in the house, and it's now their job to go find it. It's like a game now. But and it's perfect for that. So it's the Tile Sticker. You can get a pack of them for it's not cheap, but for I think this on their website a 2-pack is like $40, but it's cheaper on Amazon. So if you go to Amazon, you can find it for less. But it's really useful. I've got a Tile in my wallet now. I've got Tile connected to all of our keys. I've got Tile in my Kindle because I'm always listening to it. So it's really great. So the Tile Sticker is my pick this week.
just hope you don't go looking for your wallet. What do you mean it's in Las Vegas? I haven't been to Las Vegas.
Yeah, that would make me feel bad. So if anyone who takes my wallet to Las Vegas is not going to be happy. They're not going to get very
There's not much there.
There's not much in it. All right, so let's wrap things up. I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Technology, including Harry R., Layla L., Hans G., Anthony M., and David G. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So that's it from us. If you have any comments or feedback you'd like to give us, we'd love to hear from you. You can comment on the show at sqpn.com/technology or at the SQPN Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Or you can send an email to technology@sqpn.com, and I'll put links to all the headlines and to our picks of the week on our show notes at sqpn.com. If you can, I would really appreciate it. This would really mean a lot to us if you could write a review of the podcast in Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast from, whatever directory. It really helps us a lot. It's not just for ego. It actually makes a difference in how the show gets recommended to other people. So we really appreciate that. And if you can just share the show with your friends, help them to become listeners and to grow our community, that would be really great. Until next time, Joanne Mercier, thank you for joining me in sharing the Secrets of Technology.
Thanks, Dom. Stay home, everybody.
And Father Corey Stika, thank you as well.
Thank you, Tom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.